just downstairs talking. I don't know what even spurred it. We were just talking, Brandel and I, about a lot of different shit. And when we were done, 15 minutes later, we're like, we should have recorded that. Because we always have just crazy conversations. When we start talking, we'll be talking about this, but we end up way the fuck over here. And we're like, that was worth listening to. So we're just up here because it's fucking loud down there with all the sewing machines running right now, and it's fucking raining, so it's loud in the garage. I don't remember what we were even talking about. We were talking about just what spurred it? What did you say?
Facebook algorithm.
Facebook algorithms. Everything's so fucked up on Facebook and Instagram right now. I'll make a post in the morning and I'll have 300 people that have, hearted it right away, but nobody's commenting. And I said, you can go back to some of my posts from the last couple weeks, and some of them have no comments whatsoever. So I hit up a buddy of mine who has a really, really big Instagram account, and he goes, man, it is so fucked up. It literally just angers me to even think about it. He goes, they just did all these updates and stuff. Facebook's completely trashed. They'll work it out eventually. They'll have to. Otherwise, people will just go somewhere else eventually. Like MeWe is growing. And I said, 1,000 true fans. I have 1,000 people on Facebook that have all opted to be there. I mean, on MeWe, 1,000 people on MeWe that actually see every time I post something. I go, maybe they just don't like what I'm posting. I go, that's why I just fucking throttled back making posts in the morning. But then people are like, man, I really want to hear that stuff. And I go, somehow we got on the news, and I said, it's all just a show. It's all a control. Brandel said, maybe somebody should control that. I go, you don't want government controlling that. When government steps in and controls that and makes that a utility, you lose control of it. But that's what always happens. Something gets big, government controls it, but the government controls it in a manner that it benefits them, because the people that control the government control money. The people with the money control social media and everything else. I go, they're only going to show you what benefits them. It's always somebody benefits, but it's never ever you that benefits. Look at all of a sudden now, AIDS used to be a huge thing. All you heard about was AIDS. You never heard them come out and go, hey, we have a cure for HIV. But you turn the television on now, any mainstream time, every fucking time the TV's on, you see 2 or 3 drugs for HIV. Are you living a hazardous lifestyle? Are you fucking scuzzy motherfuckers that you shouldn't be fucking without a condom? Well, here, take this pill, because if you might be exposed to HIV, this will take care of it. Did we really cure HIV? Because I didn't hear that. Maybe I just missed that part while I wasn't watching TV for a couple years. But I didn't ever hear, hey, we fucking solved AIDS. Obviously we did, because fucking lots of dudes with money who have AIDS, like Magic Johnson, are walking around big as fuck, and they don't seem to be affected by AIDS or HIV. I don't know. Why do I not know? Because I don't have it. I don't know anybody that has it. Nobody directly, around me is directly affected by it. So, and we were talking about food production. I don't know how we even got on that, but do you know that most of the food we produce in the United States, I just heard the other day, most farmers can't consume and live off of any of the things they grow. And there's crop insurance. So it's almost like legal gambling. And I'm sure somebody on here is a crop producer that will correct me or give more information on this when they see this video. Somebody knows more about it than I do, but I had heard that farmers can't consume the food they eat. Like corn, for instance. Everybody's up in arms right now. Everybody's screaming global warming, global warming, global warming. But the people reading, the news readers, are reading the same paper, the same script from 20, 30 years ago when they said we're facing a mini ice age. 30 years ago it was we're about to freeze and we're going to be in an ice age, but now it's global warming, but it's the same words. It's literally the same script. Obama read scripts that other presidents had read literally word for word 20 years earlier, 30 years earlier. It's all scripted. It is all a fucking puppet show. So the farmer buys crop insurance in case the crop fails, and then he gets paid from the insurance. It's legal gambling. The farmer produces, everybody's screaming about all this food we can't produce because of all the flooding that happened this year. We didn't produce what? Corn? Dent corn? You can't eat any of that corn. What do we do with it? We feed it to cattle, we feed it to pigs. Look up grass-fed beef, look up CAFO. It's a confined area feed operation, I believe is what that stands for. They're feeding them shit that you can't eat that would kill you. They're feeding it to your animals to cause fat and weight really fast, to put weight on the animal. They're the same place there, and then they have them all confined where there's a bunch of disease and they're living in shit and feces, and then they got to give them all these antibiotics and shit. It's why we have little girls right now that are 10 years old that have full-grown breasts from all of the growth hormones and stuff. Now, I'm just repeating things I've heard, but they kind of seem to make sense with what's going on. But when you take all that shit away and you feed them, you feed your kids real food, meaning less than 5 ingredients, real food, meaning it came from being living to you consuming it. I also just heard that most produce in the store that you buy has been ceased, dead, you know, cut. Tomato, 30 days to get to you, and that's when you buy it at a good place. So the food you're eating is dead. While you have this idea that you are consuming nutritious food, the nutrition in the food you eat it's not there. It never was there. So what do we do? We got to produce food. You got to fucking educate yourself, know these things. But like all the food being dead, corn, right? So everybody's up in arms screaming all this crop production shit. Sure, of course it's real. It fucked the farmer. The farmer, when did we say go big or go home? When did you have to have a lot of land and produce just, you know, wheat or corn? There's no more actually growing food that humans consume. When did that happen? We totally fucked the farmer over. We pay the farmer a lot of times not to produce certain foods and produce food. 90% of that shit goes out of the United States. We export more food than we produce. Why are we eating foods coming from other countries when we can produce them ourselves? Why are we not growing our own food and nutritious food? Why do we use all of that energy and all that money and all that land to produce a food that can't be eaten by human beings? Why does, 60, 70, 80% of the corn go to make ethanol? What was the number I heard? It takes 8 gallons of diesel to produce 1 gallon of ethanol, and then we take the ethanol and mix it back with fucking fuel and diesel? It's just fucking absolutely insane. And why is that? That's because the people that control the system are the people with all the money, the people that benefit from that shit, and that's what it comes down to. And then knowing that, what good does that do if we know that? Because you and I can't change that. What we can change is we can grow some food, we can put real food in our bodies, we can get with other people that are like-minded and have an exchange of services for goods, or goods for goods, or even cash for goods, whatever. But when you turn that television off and you don't know that shit, and that's really where this came from. We were talking about what happens when you turn the television off. I go, just this conversation we just had. We just spent 15 minutes having this conversation. We both know these things. We talk about it. Then we sit around for another hour talking about it, and here we are fucking 10 minutes on this video talking about it. What happens when you turn that television off and you don't know there's global warming and you don't know all these things that they want you? Why are they telling you that? What are they doing? Why are they? Because it's a distraction, right? If I wasn't making this video right now and Brandel and I hadn't had this conversation about wheat and dent corn and global warming and whatever else we were talking about, it's just a hindrance from work. It's about you not raising yourself up, because when you're caught in the system, it's just a distraction. That's all it is. And I had said something about, you know, this weekend, I watch, what was it we were talking about on YouTube? There was something, do you ever watch something on YouTube? I go, yeah, I watched that shit this weekend.
Elon Musk?
Part of it was Elon Musk. There was something else. But what I said was, this weekend I needed to build something new. I felt like I needed some new products. And I've got 2 or 3 things I want to build, but I'm terrible about, if I start a project and I don't finish it, it's rare that I go back to it tomorrow and finish it. So I'll have 12 hours into something on Saturday, but if I don't finish it up, it might be 6 months before I revisit it. So I knew I needed to do something. I wasn't sure what to do, so what did I do? I grabbed a bunch of things that would ship a bunch of orders. It shipped 20, 30 orders this morning I made all the dog leashes. I made a bunch of wallets. I made a bunch of other shit, a bunch of camo wrap belts, a bunch of things I built. And it changed things. It shipped 30 orders to customers. And I just sat and amused myself by watching something on YouTube. I don't remember what it was, but it was just a distraction of time. A lot of times there's a dude just went to a class, and he carries, he's a good customer of ours. He's been a customer for a long time. And he carries a gun, carries flashlights, carries a backup flashlight. I think he carries a backup gun. He's carrying a couple tourniquets, carries all this med stuff. Now he wants to carry some stuff in the small of his back because that's the only place he has to carry it. And he wants to carry a Z-fold gauze and a occlusive dressing. And I said, why occlusive dressing? Because you can just make occlusive dressings out of so many things. He goes, well, it's just, we just did this training and it's so much faster if you have an occlusive dressing. I go, yeah, 100% it is, of course. He goes, I just want to carry it right here in the small of my back. I go, that's cool, but nothing is smaller than that occlusive dressing, that little mini occlusive dressing, and that Z-fold combat gauze, that quick clot, than if you just stick them together, right? If they're just this small, they're this small, and you can put a piece of Gorilla Tape around them or whatever. And then you got the Gorilla Tape should you need it for something. And he goes, yeah. He goes, but what do I do with it? I go, you put it in your pocket. You have 4 pockets. I have fucking 6, 7, 8 pockets, right? He goes, yeah, but I just got other stuff. You know, I'm doing this stuff and I've got these tools. I go, okay, well, we have a pouch that stuff will fit in, but it makes those things twice as big. He's like, I don't mind it being there. I go, you don't mind it being there until it's there and you're driving, or you've been driving for a couple hours, because that shit gets, no matter what, it's wrapped in plastic and it's going to absorb sweat and heat. It's going to be there. He goes, I don't mind. I go, why don't you just put it in your pocket? Well, because I put my tools there. I go, so why don't you just, when you need your tools, just clip on a tool belt that has the tools on it? Because when you get in the car, you take all those tools out and then they got to go someplace. Wouldn't that make more sense? It's just, it's not that he's wrong. It's that I'm not willing to carry all that shit. And I'm not saying don't. But the question is, and what I said is, I go, how old are you? 35, 40? How many times have you applied occlusive dressing in real life? Never. I said, how many times have you applied a tourniquet in real life? Never. I'm not saying don't carry 2 tourniquets. I'm not saying don't carry 3 tourniquets. I got a buddy who carries 3 fucking guns. 3. And 2 flashlights. And I'll bet he carries all his keys. And it would not surprise me to find out that he's got another set of keys to his truck in case he loses his main set of keys. How much redundancy do you need? My boy Eli comes in here and he's like, hey, I want a pouch that carries these 3 things. I'm like, that's fucking cool. So we start putting it out. We start putting it together. My friend Paul Gomez, he passed away years ago. He came to the old shop and he had a quick clot, a 14 gauge needle, which I think he had in a Sharpie tube because we didn't have the tubes with the needles at the time. Those were new. And then he had something else. I don't think he had an occlusive dressing. I think it was just duct tape around there, or Gorilla Tape. I don't even know if Gorilla Tape was out at the time. Duct tape maybe. So he had that thing, and he's like, I just want the smallest pouch you can possibly make. So I did. I made a super, super tight pouch that held that thing, and basically it was just a sleeve to put this into. And I'm like, Paul, why are we putting this in a pouch when it's already together and in your pocket? He's like, I just need it packaged. So I did. Well, we needed a lid for it. So we made the pouch, single layer Cordura, had a lid. We added Velcro. By adding the Velcro, it made the pouch twice as thick as just having the Cordura and just a sleeve that it fit in, like an open top wallet. And in the end, after building 6 or 7 of these things and spending half of a day, we went back to, he's like, man, you're right, I'm just gonna carry this in my pocket with some tape, and then the tape could be used as an occlusive dressing or to tape an occlusive dressing on should he need it or something like that. We just oversimplify, you can oversimplify things for sure, but we spend a lot of time making things bigger, bulkier, more expensive, when it already worked perfectly, just having the 2 things, the needle and the tape around the gauze. And Eli comes in a lot of times. Eli, who we do a lot of medical stuff with, a lot of medical designs. Eli will come in and go, I want ABC. And I'll build it. And we'll have it working. And I'm like, we already have that. The compact tear-off does that. We have all that extra Velcro there because we can suck it down tight, or we can bring it out should we overstuff it. So we take that pouch and we make it with less Velcro and less material, and we make it so that it has less adjustment, making it less bulky. And then he's like, well, if we put this here, then we can add a tourniquet to it. I go, we could, but we're right back to where we started. So we build this thing, we get it, and it's bigger and bulkier than what we already have that already does exactly what we've now made this thing do. And we've spent half a day, and we've got 4 pouches that are not any better than what we had, when what we started out with was to be more minimal, lighter, more compact. And this is one of those same times when he's like, man, let's do this thing that folds up, that holds these things. And all we really did is we made something that looks kind of like a little suitcase that holds the exact same contents that goes inside the vehicle med bag. And the vehicle med bag has pals on the outside, and we can rubber band or ranger band or bungee cord tourniquets all over the face. I'll bet we can put 12 of them on the face, or we can put them in pouches and have 6 of them where no UV light will hold them, and they're quick deployable, and you can just take them off without having to fuck with any cordage or anything. So we built this thing, and it's big. And because it was big, we had some material we could stuff more stuff in. So we ended up with a thing, we call it the mass casualty bag. We never did name it, we never put it out, but that's what everybody was calling it, the mass casualty trauma kit. It's fucking big. Some dudes saw it and go, could you use that as a litter? Like, you could kind of tuck it through the legs and maybe drag somebody with it, but that's not what it was. But it was big enough that people were like, could you carry somebody in that thing? And then in Eli fashion, he's like, it'd be nice if the tourniquets were on the outside. So we put these 4 pouches on the top. There's 2 handles. These 4 pouches hold tourniquets. And then with anything we do with Eli, he's like, needs chem lights. And then if we're adding chem lights, you might as well add more tourniquets. And before you know it, we've got this thing that you're not going to carry it. It's not going in a bag. It's great in a truck. So if you roll up to a scene, or if you're going to go from a vehicle to a tent or a makeshift hospital, it's great for that. It's great for rolling into an active shooter situation. Kind of almost like an EMT bag. But what did that day start as? That day started as, I want to carry quick clot, I want to carry a tourniquet, and I want to carry a 14 gauge needle. But we're fixing a problem that didn't exist for an answer we already had. We're always trying to, and I'm not saying Eli, I'm saying everybody is always trying to find a new way to do something. And that's where improvement comes, that's where ingenuity comes from. But I'll bet 99% of the times we have started out to do something new, we just ended up, we already had the answer for it. We just spent 3 days creating a new thing for something that there wasn't a problem for. So take what you want from that. I don't really have I don't have a conclusion to that. Just spend your time wisely. When you're not sure what to do, do fucking something, and always fucking move forward. It's easy to get in conversations. It's easy to see things on the internet. It's just easy to get distracted. And when you're distracted, it's just taken away from you. That's all I got.